All right, everybody, welcome back. I think we're ready to get started with the public comment portion of today's meeting. As a reminder, I'll call on the people who requested to make a comment when they registered. All names will be called in the order in which we received your pre-registration. After all those folks have commented, I'll ask if anyone else would like to make a comment, but we will not be taking repeat speakers today. You would then use the raise hand feature on the Zoom platform, or if you're calling in from a phone, you would type *9 to raise your hand. I'll call on people to comment in the order in which you raise your hands. During the comment period, I'll post the names of the next few speakers in the chat so you can see when your turn is coming up. I'll then read your names and ask that you raise your hand using the button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or again, if you're on a phone, you can type *9 to raise your hand. That will let me know that you're on the call and are still interested in making a public comment. If you're on the call but no longer wish to make a public comment, feel free to just not raise your hand and we'll move on to the next speaker. Again, we have a large volume of folks pre-registered to speak today. I'll call the names of the people who have their hands raised, and when I call your name, you'll receive a pop-up box on your screen that will allow you to unmute yourself to make your comment. Sometimes that pop-up box gets hidden if you have several other windows open on your computer, so I'd recommend closing any extra open windows now. If you're calling in from a phone, you'll hear a prompt to press *6 to unmute your line. Please remember that if you have clarifying questions, you can still type those into the question and answer box on your Zoom platform, and we'll stop taking new questions once we have finished the public comment period today. So please be sure to submit any questions you have as soon as you're able. A reminder that when BOEM staff receive your question via the question and answer box and begin to review and respond to your question, the question will be moved to the dismiss category in the Zoom platform. That change in status indicates that BOEM is actively working on a response to your question. A couple ground rules for us to follow during the comment period today. First, please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. I'll post a timer on the screen to help you keep track of your time. At the end of your time, I'll jump in to ask you to quickly wrap up to allow others the opportunity to comment. If you're not able to complete your comments within the allotted time, you may submit them in writing before the end of the public comment period, which ends on May 2nd, 2024. Second, we appreciate your participation during this meeting, and we ask that participants please be respectful towards everyone else who provides comments during today's meeting. You each have a unique and valued perspective, and no one comment is considered more important than another. Comments that are directed to or about another commenter or individual in this meeting are not in line with the intent of today's meeting and will not be allowed. Finally, should any comments or actions begin to distract from the purpose of this public meeting, we reserve the right to mute individuals who do not participate respectfully, use derogatory, threatening, or inappropriate language, and then the speaker may be removed from the online platform. Finally, I apologize in advance for mispronouncing anyone's name. Alrighty. All right, I'm posting the names of the first few speakers into the chat. All right, our first few speakers are Ross Myers, Sandra Gordabasso, Chris Beckstrom, John Deputato, and Peter Langenfeld. If you're on the platform and still wishing to make a verbal public comment today, please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your platform. Okay, folks, I see we have a number of folks with their hands up. I'm going to lower your hands. Again, we're going to go in the order in which people pre-registered. And at the end of the pre-registration, if you'd like to provide a public comment, I'll then ask you to raise your hand to provide your comments. Our first 5 speakers are Ross Myers, Sandra Guardabasso, Chris Beckstrom, John Deputato, and Peter Langenfeld. If you're on the platform and still wishing to make a comment today, Please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your platform. All right, Chris, I see your hand is raised. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, Chris. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Chris Beckstrom. Given what BOEM has proposed here, I wonder what is happening in the rest of the world. I heard people on a previous call talking about offshore wind as this new and unproven technology. So I did some homework. There was an offshore wind farm installed off the coast of Denmark 33 years ago, in 1991. Then I tried to find out more about what has happened in Europe since. And I found a report on the status that was up through 2020, where Europe has a total of 116 wind farms across 12 European countries with 5,402. That's 5,402 turbines connected to the grid. So quite a bit. So then I wondered what BOEM was doing to learn from Europe, since they've been doing this for quite some time. And I found that BOEM has hosted a workshop 11 years ago in February 2013 with European scientists and regulators who had experience in offshore wind energy projects. The goal of this workshop was for BOEM to, quote, learn from the European experience with offshore wind development about the types of information that should be gathered during site assessments and characterization activities that best informs decisions about the siting of offshore wind facilities and potential mitigation measures, unquote. Which sounds like that made a lot of sense to me. So that led me, one last thing was to wonder if Europe has had problems and challenges. Like any technology or any energy producing solution they have had, there have been problems and challenges. And I read about the costs, technology issues, et cetera, that they've had. For comparison, I decided to do a search on problems related to oil drilling. Oil drilling is clearly not a new and unproven technology. And yet, I think we'll all remember in 2010, there was the Deepwater Horizon catastrophe, which resulted in spilling 130 million gallons of oil into the Gulf of Mexico, and the impact that had on the environment, the fishing industry, et cetera. One report said that 1/3 of the Gulf of Mexico fishing area was closed due to that. I could not find any problems with offshore wind that caused even a fraction of that kind of harm. Therefore, I am fully for the continuation of offshore wind. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Alrighty, one last call for folks in our first list of speakers: Ross Myers, Sandra Guardabasso, John Deputato, and Peter Langenfeld. I do see we have a call-in user with their hands raised. I'm going to see if that is one of the speakers from our first list. Call-in user ending in 1367. I'm going to ask you to unmute to see if you're one of our pre-registered speakers. Call-in user ending in 1367, you are unmuted. Okay, call-in user ending in 13. Yep.
This is the phone number 1367. This is Brad Williams. I'm in the second group there.
Okay, go ahead, Brad. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. My name is Brad Williams, and I am a current year-round resident on Long Beach Island, New Jersey. And my greatest fear with this project moving forward is with the economic disruption to recreation and tourism, the diminished property values for the residents that call this island home, and for the major disruptive visual impacts to the highly sensitive historic districts along the New Jersey shoreline. In the COP visual impact analysis, Appendix 2 M1 photo simulations, I noticed that on page 119 of 289, which is for Beach Haven, it's noted that the proposed project occupies nearly the entire horizontal field of view. The sensitivity rating is considered high, and the magnitude rating of the WDG-TG presence is considered large, with an overall impact classification as major. In a similar BOEM environmental impact study for the Vineyard Wind 1 lease area, Chapter 3, Environmental Consequences, page 88, Section 3.10.1.2, it concluded that the long-term presence of offshore wind structures would result in navigational constraints and risks, potential gear entanglement and loss, and visual impacts from offshore structures. Although few WTGs would be within 15 miles of shore, the point at which adverse impacts on tourism may outweigh beneficial impacts. Ultimately, as noted in the record of decision for that project dated 5/10/21 on page 4, BOEM removed surface occupancy within 15 miles of inhabited coastline from further consideration to help reduce those visual impacts. Now, comparatively, the proposed WTGs of this project, Atlantic Shores North, are 76% larger at 1,046 feet, which is the blade tip height, versus 595 feet at Vineyard Wind 1. They're nearly half the distance offshore at 8.5 miles versus 14.7 miles. And they are adjacent to a more densely populated recreation area. At a minimum, I'd like to see BOEM conduct a similar study for Atlantic Shores North to establish a break-even point at which adverse visual impacts outweigh beneficial impacts with regards to the wind turbine distance from shoreline. So my proposed action plan would be to establish a no surface occupancy zone within the distance from shoreline established by that aforementioned study to effectively mitigate the visual impacts of the wind turbine generators on both property values and the regional recreation and tourism economy within the project's viewshed. The no surface occupancy zone shall also be in accordance with the recommendations given in Lease 549's technical report titled Seascape, Landscape, and Visual Impact Assessment, Section 3.2, page 27. Alternatively, BOEM should consider reallocation of Lease 549's energy deliverables by increasing the WTG density of neighboring Lease 541, which shares a leasee and effectively mitigates the visual and economic impacts of the shoreline. To close, when you visit Atlantic Shores Wind's website, you'll note that one of the joint venture's core values is the saying, be a good neighbor. I ask that BOEM provide the citizens of New Jersey a similar respect with a study that was done for the citizens of Massachusetts and move the wind turbines outside of the zone that would impact our small businesses, our property values, and the place that we call home. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, moving on to the second panel, William Healy, Christian O'Rourke, Richard Hunt, and Noel Quinn. William, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Thank you very much for allowing us to participate. My name's William Healy. I'm the special advisor to the president of the New Jersey Alliance for Action. Before I start, I'd like to thank the speaker and Mr. Murdy for reminding us today what a long and well-developed process this indeed is. The Alliance for Action is very pleased to participate in this public session this afternoon. We're a 50-year-old organization, nonpartisan, representing thousands of business, labor, government, utility, education, profession, and other New Jersey leaders. Our mission is to improve New Jersey's economy through the promotion of environmentally friendly capital construction and infrastructure investment. We also work very closely with the two state agencies who presented previously. There's going to be incredible demands on our state's electric grid in the years ahead. As this federal agency knows, we are already in support of Atlantic Shore's South project. We'd like to express our support for Atlantic Shores today in this new process of its proposed construction operations plan for lease area OCSA 0549. In the 2020 census, New Jersey identified 9.3 million residents. I had a personal insight on that as I was a census enumerator. Because of New Jersey's strategic location, our number of new residents is likely to grow. There is going to be an increased demand for clean energy. We are going to benefit tremendously from the offshore wind power coming from this tract and many others off our coast and indeed up and down the East Coast. We believe that Atlantic Shores is putting forth a well thought out plan. Our state is certainly preparing for transformation in personal transportation, fleet transportation, mass transit, and other uses for electric energy. These changes are taking place already. Availability of offshore wind will mean our state can better prepare for this demand and fight off the impacts of climate change at the same time. Offshore wind energy is also part of an economic transformation in our state. Atlantic Shores is a part of that in its commitment to manufacturing and marshaling facilities in our state. Our state's utilities are also planning for the availability of this energy and these transmission capabilities, which have been previously put out for discussion at today's hearing. Jobs are going to result. Thousands of jobs will result from this project's presence and from its maintenance over the anticipated lifetime. Based on our dealings with them, and as outlined in the presentation we just saw, the Alliance for Action believes Atlantic Shores has been a model environmental steward and planner. This outline is offered by Atlantic Shores plans for the utmost protection of marine life. I think we've all seen them demonstrate that commitment. Once this project is operational late in this decade, New Jersey would be well on its way to supporting and enacting its plan of 11,000 megawatts of energy from offshore wind by 2040. Again, thank you so much to the United States Department of the Interior and its Bureau of Ocean Energy Management for allowing the New Jersey Alliance for Action to participate in this hearing and express our support for this construction operation plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. All right, folks, one more call for Kristen O'Rourke, Richard Hunt, and Noel Quinn. If you're on the platform and still wishing to make a verbal comment, please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your Zoom platform. Or if you've called in by phone, you can press *9. All right, I'm going to post the names of the next 5 speakers into the chat. Our next 5 speakers are Raul Dio, Jean Geld, James Wolfe, John Morangiello, and Margaret Bagley. Okay, James, I see your hand is raised. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, thank you for holding this discussion. I'll start off with just some initial issues. As far as the European wind generation goes and others around the world, the companies that come out with their initial production estimates, I've yet to see one over the history that has come in line or even better. It's always pie in the sky numbers. Wasn't that long ago in Europe that their reliability of renewable energy was severely lacking, and over a few summers ago, Europe was floundering through many countries, Western companies, on producing enough energy. and it was a severe economic hardship. So I've got that worry. You've got to remember that these Atlantic Shore companies that are involved, they are companies, and they're not any different than an oil company in my mind. That they make pie in the sky promises, we're going to be good stewards, etc. But bottom line is they want to make profits, and they want to make large profits. And it appears that the New Jersey shore communities are being used as cannon fodder. Um, One of the presenters early talked about the executive orders that have been put forth to push this project forward, and I fear that it's become political, along with many other issues in this country, and the average citizen is not being thought of. The prices continue to go up. We saw that in New York, where wind energy, I think twice they've gone back saying, "Up, nope, what we uh, what we initially said we'd be selling the price at, it's not going to work. We need to increase it severely to make it cost effective." The state of New Jersey continues to give the hard-earned money from the taxpayers to these companies to help subsidize it, and I just fear that these prices are going up. You're seeing overseas, France last week announced that they're stepping up their use of nuclear. They are a large, or had been a large, proponent of renewable, and it's just not working the way that it has been promised. Around the world, you're seeing coal demand go up to record levels as a result of renewables just not delivering what was promised. I haven't been able to see anything about the decline rates of the production of these wind turbines. After 5, 10, 15, 20 years, how much does the efficiency decline? And that's a major worry outside of the expense. So I think that we're depending who you talk to, you're only getting 50% of the story. The old adage of putting lipstick on a pig. I've been lucky enough over the past few years to be able to be fishing offshore, off of the southern part of Long Beach Island, Little Egg Harbor Inlet, about 6 miles out. And almost every day that I'm out there, I can see the wind turbines in the Bay of Atlantic City. That's 6 miles out, and these are severely smaller than what's being proposed. So the idea that you might not be able to see it on any given day, I just don't buy it. Um, you're looking at the best available science. Have you looked at 35 miles out and done some kind of a comparison as to what the energy that would be produced would be compared to the 8.5 miles? Is it less detrimental to the marine life or more? Oil companies, they have to worry about sage grouse, burrowing owls anywhere in the area. They can't drill for any kind of oil or natural gas or mining, building any kind of a structure. I don't understand why endangered marine life doesn't get the same consideration. So I just am very cautious. I'm not against, even though it might sound it, wind and renewable energy. I just want it done in the right way, and I don't think we're getting that here. I appreciate the time and the patience. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Right, folks, I'm going to just pause for a moment. We're switching out our captioner before we move on to the next speakers. This is an additional final call for speakers from our previous list: Rahul Dio, Jean Geld, John Morangilio, and Margaret Bagley. Again, we're just pausing for a moment before we hear any more comments to ensure that our captioner team has been switched out. All right, folks. We've switched over our captioners so we can continue on. I see our hand is raised from someone from our previous panel, John Deputado. I'm going to ask you to unmute so you can provide your verbal comments. And again, you have 5 minutes for your comments. John?
Yes, hi. My name is John Deputado. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to make comments today. I've had a home on Long Beach Island since 1999, and I've seen the island start from a small fledgling group of tourism to what it's grown to today, which is a bustling island of tourism from the and actually occupied probably now throughout the year. I'm very concerned about the small businesses on the island and the degree to which this project seems to be being pushed through despite all the opposition. I am concerned about climate change, but I don't know why this project is being pushed through at the rate at which it's being pushed through. The New Jersey legislature and Governor Murphy removed any local towns from having having a say in how this is being approached. I don't know if if BOEM or Atlantic Shores has done enough survey work to look at the effect of tourism. But if you look at some survey work that was done by Orsted, survey work that's been done by Save Long Beach Island, you can see that tourism is down in numbers that I believe are in the high double digits, in the 15 to 25%. If these numbers actually are hit, this island will crash. The small businesses that are on the island would be highly affected. I know that my home value would definitely be affected, as well as all the other rental properties on the island. This is an island that depends high on tourism and rental. So I'm very concerned about that. I would like to see BOEM take a stance from ready, fire, aim to one of taking a look at what would actually happen to tourism on this island. I'm concerned that the public forum for this for public comments, there's been nothing scheduled near Long Beach Island, and I would really like to understand why the public forums where people can come and actually appear in public, there's nothing near the island where you're putting the turbines. And so that, along with the New Jersey legislature removing our ability to comment on these things, or to, I would say, to have any kind of opposition, concerns me. So I am concerned about climate change, but I'm also concerned about how these turbines are being installed. They are 1,000 feet tall. They're as big as the Chrysler buildings. And I had a conversation with Governor Murphy probably a year ago on a call-in station. In fact, I've spoken to him twice. And the first time I spoke to him, he said that it'd be mere specks on the horizon. And then the second time he said that we just have to get used to them. Well, I can tell you the people of Long Beach Island don't want to just get used to these things. Is plenty of opportunity to move these turbines out 40, 50 miles like they are in Europe. So if you go through and you review where the turbines are placed in Europe, you'll see that they're not placed anywhere near shore. So again, very concerned about it. And I would like to see BOEM take action to be able to place these turbines in an area that do not affect tourism or home values, or just change the scope and the landscape of Long Beach Island for eternity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. All right, folks, one last call for Rahul Dio, Jean Geld, John Morangiello, and Margaret Bagley. If you're on the platform and still wish to make a verbal comment as a pre-registered speaker, You can use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your Zoom platform, or if you've called in by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. All right, moving on to the next 5 speakers: Carl Van Warmerdam, Elizabeth Brown, Dana Milanak, Penny Breitling, and Peggy Middaw. Carl, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Carl. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, my name is Carl Van Warmerdam. I'm in Barrington, Rhode Island. I'm with the organization Deep Sea Defenders. We're an organization dedicated to preventing deep sea mining in international waters. And this project, of course, will require immense amount of minerals, which they expect to be supplied with mining, and as much mining as possible. Land mining won't be enough, so they need to start mining the deep sea. I, first of all, would like to ask BOEM to extend the public comment period for this. It's seems inadequate, 30 days. It should at least be 60. But I would recommend also that this project be disapproved. First off, after all their preparation on this, to call this project clean or renewable is, of course, not factual. These are rebuildable. This is a rebuildable project, not renewable. Wind is, of course, renewable, but these are machines that require massive amounts of minerals to build, and massive amounts of fossil fuel to produce and extract. So there's nothing clean about that at all. You can only find it green and greenwashing. So that's all on the back end of the life cycle. So these projects are economically unfeasible. They are only brought about through mandates, government mandates, and massive amounts of subsidies. They cannot stand alone by their own. So non-dispatchable energy, it is the reason why they're so close in is because it takes more materials, and it loses power the further out it is. So they want these, most power stations are close to where the power need is. These will be way out, but not far enough to mitigate the problems to the local communities in terms of the view and employment jobs with recreation, fishing. So the jobs they provide will not help to prevent those jobs that will be lost. So those lost jobs are never accounted for. So it just seems like we're trying, and they won't solve climate change also. So there's another misinformation, because all of the energy required to produce these, and I'm not for fossil fuels. These turbines will not remove one car off of the roads. They're meant to keep cars on the roads. They're meant to keep private jets flying in the air and cruise ships. So their functionality in terms of climate change, they are adding to our fossil fuel use, not subtracting from it. So that's what they will be doing. So this is just to keep business as usual going, and it's actually a transfer of wealth from the poor, because the electric rates will go up, taxpayers' money will go up, taxes will go up, and it goes off. This money will be siphoned off to multinational corporations. I just see no positives from this project, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, our next speaker is Penny Breitling.
Oops, it went away. Can you hear me? Hello.
Hi, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, yes, thank you. I feel putting multiple large, tall wind turbine machines in the ocean, as well as the damage to the ocean floor they will cause, is disruptive to the Jersey Shore. I think the industrialization of the ocean will hurt the shore tourism economy and the natural environment. Many people like being on the beach and looking out at the horizon, or as I call it, the edge of the world. It is the happy place for so many people. Instead, the horizon will look like an industrial park. The beautiful natural view will disappear. Also, the New Jersey Shore ocean water quality has been so clear for swimming the last 10 years or so. I'm afraid this will change because of the machines. The damage to the ocean floor tourism and the oil and the chemicals used to maintain the machines, as well as the boats and helicopter fuel to reach them for maintenance, seems to negate some of the wind turbine machines' environmental benefits to me. I ask the BOM to consider this, please. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. All right, our next speaker is Peggy. I'm going to send you a link to unmute.
Hi. My name is Peggy Midda, and you got it exactly right when you said it. Good afternoon, and thank you for taking my comments, and I'll be very brief today. My name is Peggy Midda, and I'm speaking for the Unitarian Universalist Faith Action New Jersey, also known as UU Faith Action, a statewide organization which represents 20 congregations with thousands of members. Our faith guides us to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, a responsible search for truth and meaning, and respect for the independent web of all existence of which we are a part. We respect and follow science, recognizing science is also a search for the truth. UU Faith Action supports the Atlantic Shores North project because it fits into the larger picture of New Jersey's goals of producing 100% clean energy by 2035. We believe that the existential threat of climate change, including flooding, excessive heat, more intensive wildfires and storms, warming of the oceans, and sea level rise, to name a few, must be addressed as quickly as possible. Offshore wind is a much better solution than the current status quo of burning fossil fuels. We are pleased to see the amount of research already conducted by BOEM to ensure the best placement of the turbines while reducing impacts to the marine environment. We encourage and support continuing research into the impacts of this project, but emphasize this research should not slow down the project, but must be done simultaneously. We are pleased to see that the project design envelope approach being used, which will encourage best available technology as the project progressives. And I just want to say one thing that's off script here, but I've been working on this for over 35 years. We've known all this time that this is a problem. Then we called it global warming, will be a problem in the future because of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and we haven't done much about it. So we cannot keep slowing down. We don't have any more slowdown to go. Climate change is upon us. Long Beach Island probably won't be here much longer because the sea level rise will encapsulate it. So I think we need to move quickly. Thank you for your time. We intend to provide more detailed comments in future hearings and in writing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. All right, one last call for Elizabeth Brown and Dana Milinak. If you're on the platform and still wish to provide verbal comments, you can use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your Zoom platform, or if you've called in by phone, you can press *9. Okay, I'm going to move on to our next 5 speakers. Michael Skelly, Peggy O'Hara, Tony Moutinho, Paulina O'Connor, and Jackie Gregor. Okay, Michael, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Michael Skelly. I represent the Environmental Justice Task Force for the Unitarian Universalist Faith Action of New Jersey. Faith Action represents our Unitarian Universalist congregations throughout New Jersey. Thank you for the opportunity to speak out in support of the Atlantic Shores project and this process being operated by BOEM. Our faith calls upon us to have respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Therefore, these wind energy projects and the environmental impact that they pose are a direct interest to us. We support BOEM's scoping plan, the use of the envelope approach, and multiple simultaneous reviews and public participation process as affects environmental, societal, and historical impacts, and many others. While looking at the maximum conditions are the best approach, please also offer scenarios as a bundle showing potential impacts, abatements, etc., such as the most likely case scenario. We expect that this process will lead to an expeditious and orderly development process that is sensitive to environmental justice communities and the web of life. We are looking forward to these wind energy projects and more because they can help clean air pollution that harms our health while creating good jobs, protecting humans and nature from the rapidly increasing dangers from climate change. We believe the science that climate change is real. It is here and now. It is an existential problem that we must face and take immediate action to reduce fossil fuel emissions that are causing it. The longer we take to significantly cut our use of fossil fuels, the only deeper that we will slip into this climate crisis. And the harder it will be for us to climb out of the hole that we are digging ourselves into. Once again, we support this project and particularly the BOEM process, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, our next speaker is Paulina O'Connor. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Paulina O'Connor, and I'm the Executive Director of the New Jersey Offshore Wind Alliance. We are a nonprofit advocacy group dedicated to the clean energy transition through offshore wind development. We serve as a trusted voice of the industry and are supported by Merrick Action, American Clean Power, and developers with leaseholding interests in the New York Bight. I appreciate the opportunity to testify in a thorough and transparent process by BOEM and its permitting and regulatory partners. This webinar exemplifies the incredibly high standards developers must adhere to. They navigate complex regulatory and compliance frameworks and undergo meticulous evaluations by various agencies. Therefore, I want to thank Atlantic Shores for the extensive presentation today, and I'm here to say I'm in full support of Atlantic Shores Offshore Wind and their proposed project, Atlantic Shores North. This project will be a critical component of the state's clean energy transition and the offshore wind industry. It will create good-paying jobs and ensure accessible to all economic opportunities while providing sustainable and secure energy. The New Jersey Offshore Wind Alliance believes Atlantic Shores has cited the project's facilities and utilized the project design envelope to maximize renewable energy production, minimize environmental effects, minimize costs to ratepayers, and address stakeholder concerns. We believe that Atlantic Shores has completed responsible siting and design and has proposed reasonable and necessary measures to avoid, minimize, or mitigate potential effects or impacts to the environment, communities, and coastal and ocean users. Atlantic Shores and its staff is dedicated to New Jersey and its success in combating climate change, and I encourage all to embrace this project and support its development. Lastly, I'd like to highlight that offshore wind plays a crucial role in mitigating climate change by displacing carbon-intensive forms of electricity generation. By transitioning to clean and renewable energy sources like offshore wind, New Jersey can reduce its carbon footprint and contribute to global efforts to limit the impacts of climate change. Offshore wind is the largest scalable source of emission-free energy that the state can capture, as we are land mass limited. Climate change poses the single biggest threat to our ocean and to the future of the planet. Every tool and solution is needed as we work to address the climate crisis. Sustainable ocean-based solutions, particularly offshore renewable energy, plays an invaluable role. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, our next speaker is Jackie Greger. I'm asking you to unmute.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to provide.
Jackie, your audio is very, very soft. We're having trouble hearing you. Can you turn your mic up?
Is that better?
A little bit. If you could get closer to your mic or maybe just speak louder, that would be great.
Okay, how's this?
That's great. Thanks so much.
Great. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments today. My name is Jackie Greger, and I'm a lifelong resident of Toms River, New Jersey, and here to testify today on behalf of the New Jersey Sierra Club. The New Jersey Sierra Club eagerly supports the equitable and environmentally responsible build-out of offshore wind and a robust environmental impact assessment of the Atlantic Shores North lease area. Our transition to clean energy and action to tackle the climate crisis should not come at the expense of our natural and physical environment, and we believe that the responsible development of clean energy and environmental protection can coexist. New Jersey is on the front lines of the climate crisis, with ever-increasing sea level rise, heavy rain events, and both coastal and inland flooding. I've seen the direct impact of sunny day flooding in coastal communities along the shore and have experienced extreme weather during Hurricane Sandy that climate change will only exacerbate in future events. To achieve the necessary carbon emission reductions to protect our communities from the climate crisis, we need a major transition in our energy sector now. There will be 6.13 million tons of greenhouse gas reduction annually from this Atlantic Shores project alone, which is equivalent to removing 1.21 million cars from the road. Offshore wind is the future and one of our greatest clean energy solutions that will benefit the local communities in New Jersey without furthering the burning of fossil fuels. This new clean energy resource will especially benefit the communities in New Jersey who bear the brunt of pollution, as it will help to displace the fossil fuel usage in our grid and improve our regional air quality, which suffers greatly from a dense population and overwhelming industry pollution. We need to invest in offshore wind to bring relief to people who suffer from asthma, heart disease, and other medical conditions. New Jersey is downwind from all of the states in our regional grid, particularly Pennsylvania, where we see intense fracking, coal mining, and electric generation through coal and gas-fired power plants. All of this regional pollution lands right here in New Jersey. Offshore wind will directly offset our reliance on this dirty energy, allowing New Jersey communities to breathe easier and take necessary action towards transitioning toward a clean and livable climate future. We urge BOEM to move quickly to protect the health of our future generations and environment, and will provide more detailed written comments in the future. Thank you again for your time and the opportunity to submit my comments today.
Thank you for your comments. All right, one last call for Peggy O'Hara and Tony Moutinho. If you're on the platform and would still like to provide a verbal comment, you can use the raise hand feature, or if you've called in, you can press *9 to raise your hand. All right, I'm going to post the names of the next 5 speakers in the chat. Our next 5 speakers that pre-registered are Cheryl Willie, Kathy Brown, Kathleen Osborne, Kevin Brown, and Lori Maxwell. If you're on the platform and still wishing to speak, please use the raised hand feature. Located at the bottom of your Zoom platform, or if you called in by phone, you can press *9. If you did not pre-register today, you can send me a chat message and I will add you to the speaker list if you would like. Again, Cheryl Willie, Kathy Brown, Kathleen Osborne, Kevin Brown, and Lori Maxwell. All right, Lori, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Great. Actually, I was not prepared to speak today, as other people are scripted, and I just came in to kind of listen to what was going on and catch up. Full disclosure, no, I am not a paid shill from a group. I am just an average citizen who feels as though this entire process was ramrodded down our throats. Okay? Everything was done by executive action. The people of New Jersey have absolutely no say in whether they wanted it or not. I don't think that the people who are against this project are anti-climate or anti-clean energy. They are looking to keep New Jersey coastline pristine. And when I say the coastline, I am talking the environment, I'm talking the animals. We had 19 whales wash up when they started mapping. Think that's a coincidence? I don't. Birds. If you look at the platform of the turbines in Atlantic City, and they're not even close to what this is going to be. They are mopping up dead skeletons all the time. I don't think anyone is, let's talk about fishing. Scallop fishermen are opening up. Studies have shown, and there's nothing there. There's less. My concern is because this project was kind of done by executive action, it seems backdoor. And I don't feel that there's transparency or full disclosure. I would like to know the studies that you are using to make your decision. Seems as though, and correct me if I'm wrong, they were paid for by the person who is getting the lease. So how is that not a conflict of interest? I would like BOEM to investigate this. I would also like to have a third party that looks at all of these factors. And let's talk about tourism. Let's talk the visual impact. The New Jersey Shore, people spend their money. It's a tourist attraction. And to look out 8.4 miles, I mean, I guess that the issue is, first it was, why does it have to, this will be the closest turbine farm anywhere. Why does it have to be 8.4 miles? Why can't it be further out? If it makes absolutely zero sense. So I don't think anyone is against clean energy, and don't make it that way. Just let's find a happy medium. Let's find a way that we could keep our animals, keep our shores, keep tourism, keep our fisheries, and still provide energy. And while we're talking about energy, and I'm sorry if I'm a little disjoint, because again, I was not one of the prepared statement readers. Rumor has it that the energy that will be mitigated from this project will be going to New York. So why is New Jersey getting the negative effects and not even enjoying the bulk of the resource? So with that said, I am asking you, please be transparent with us. Make us feel that you truly are hearing our concerns, that you are looking at this transparently, not just because the government is paying you or it's the fashionable thing to do. Look at it from every point of view, because you will set the course of our future. And I would not want to be the one who ruins the Jersey Shore. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, one more call for 1 second. All right, one last call for Cheryl Willie, Kathy Brown, Kathleen Osborne, and Kevin Brown. Okay, I'm going to post the names of the next 5 speakers in the chat. Robert and Cosco, Rob Elsie, Bertie Wiskilston, Elaine Ferda, and Sylvia Lockwood. If you're on the platform and still wishing to provide a verbal comment, please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your Zoom platform, or if you've called in by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. Okay, Robert, I see your note in the chat, and we did receive your questions in the Q&A feed. Again, Rob, Elsie, Bertie Wiskitton, Elaine Ferda, and Sylvia Lockwood. If you're on the platform and still wishing to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature or press *9 to raise your hand. I'm going to pause there. Okay, folks, not seeing hands raised from anyone in that next speaker group. I'm going to go ahead and post the names of our next 5 speakers so we can keep moving along. Our next 5 speakers are Gregory Blash, Barbara Summer, Mike Dean, Diane Snelson, and William Link. Again, folks, we're going through all of our pre-registered speakers first, and then I will call on folks who've requested to be added to the speaker list. Gregory Blash, Barbara Summer, Mike Dean, Diane Snelson, and William Link. Okay, Barbara, I see your hand is raised. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi there, my name is Barbara Summer, and my family has had a residence on Long Beach Island for 60 years. I have a question on this project that I don't understand, and I've asked of many people throughout the process, and no one seems to have an answer, which is, why is the project sited 8 miles off of our beautiful coastline? And why can't it be moved further out like other projects? For example, 40 miles, 20 miles, some other amount of distance other than being the closest anywhere in New Jersey and probably the United States. Earlier, our Atlantic Shores person said that they are willing to consider reasonable alternatives. Well, and also made the comment that none of the turbines would be closer than 12 miles. Well, it seems like they keep creeping closer because originally they were supposed to be further out. As another call-in person said, a speck on the horizon. They're certainly not going to be a speck at 8 miles out. And I think everyone in New Jersey deserves an answer to this question. If it's about economics, then sure, I guess we would have to understand that. But no one has answered it. So that is my question, and thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. All right, our next speaker is Diane Snelson. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Diane Snelson. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, great. As a New Jersey taxpayer with a house on LBI for over 25 years, I object to the industrialization of our shores with this project approved by executive orders in 2020 during the height of COVID, when none of us were any kind of stakeholders. We'd had no stakeholder engagements, none of us on the island. We knew nothing about this. The Jersey Shore is a cherished gem of the state, and it's really the proposed projects really threaten to devastate our pristine coastline, endanger our marine life, dismantle the fishing industry, disrupt the tourism that sustains local businesses and people's livelihoods. These projects are heavily subsidized by the government, and the taxpayers will ultimately be held accountable for the resulting increase in costs and the soaring electric bills, which all the data shows is just going to increase cumulatively over time. Look at Germany and look at France. Are you guys paying attention to what they're doing? They're taking down their wind turbines because they see they're inefficient and they're costly. Even the military has expressed concerns that the presence of these wind energy structures would lead to localized long-term impacts on the radar systems. This project carries too many negative impacts to justify any potential benefits. Additionally, BOEM has even stated that it has no measurable influence on climate change. So, what's the real issue here? Where are the long-term data from independent third-party consultants demonstrating the long-term ecosystem destruction or not? These are the tallest and closest wind turbines that will exist in the United States or in the country. Where's the data to show that these close turbines aren't going to destroy the ecosystem? And plus, it's got impact on where the endangered whales migrate right through this area. Where's all this isn't being addressed? There's definitely correlation between the dead animals, the whales and the dolphins washing up on our beaches. We've never seen anything like it. Why will this work in New Jersey? Why give the foreign companies power over our electric grid? This makes absolutely no sense. And a lot of the people on this call, they seem like they're plants. Everybody's like all happy about this. But ask the people in the communities in New Jersey. We're not happy about it. Nobody asked us. This has been shoved down our throats and we don't like it. So it's not working in Europe. Why is it going to work in New Jersey? That's my comment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. All right, our next speaker is William Link. William, I'm going to send you a message to unmute.
Okay, I guess I'm on, right?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
All right, yes. I am a member of the John Birch Society. If you're not sure what that is a constitutional watch party. And we are neither Republican nor Democrat nor libertarian. We are constitutionalists. And nowhere in the Constitution of the United States does it enumerate power to any body to do what is being done. It is unconstitutional to sell ocean space. It is unconstitutional to override the will of the people. We are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. There is no king in New Jersey. There is no king in the White House. So all of this is unconstitutional, and it will be challenged in the courts. Now, this can all be avoided if they decide to not go with it, but I'm letting you know that it is unconstitutional. Now, there are other questions. Number one is, why are they so stuck on wind turbines when there are other ways of wind power? There's something called the vortex bladeless, which has been developed in Spain, which has 0 moving parts. It's a stick that sticks up in the air and it vibrates with the wind, which at the very bottom of that is where the turbine is, very easily accessible. You understand that with over 1,000 feet high, the only way to fix the turbines is using helicopters. Very dangerous, especially with winds. Let me explain something. Wind at ground level can be bad. At 1,000 feet up, that wind is way more dangerous. And it's not going to be safe for these crews to be doing that. Also, we have hurricanes, we have nor'easters, so we have all kinds of bad weather that can affect those windmills. So I'm totally against them. There are much better ways. In fact, our own college, Princeton, one of the greatest college of all, has worked with other colleges in developing nuclear fusion. Unlike nuclear fission, nuclear fusion has no waste. They're a few years down the road of developing this on a mass scale, which could in fact power the entire state. And that is the way we should be going. We should be looking at sustainable nuclear fusion and not wind. And if you want to put windmills on the land, I'm fine with that. We have this thing called the Garden State Parkway. Put all the windmills you want. It's on dry land. But using the ocean, and there's better ways to use the ocean as well. There's tidal power, which we know works. That could be used, and it's a much safer. So what I'm just saying is this is not a very safe thing, and we've already seen over 40 marine mammals that have been killed because of the sonar sounding. It doesn't directly kill them, but it messes with their sonar, and they go and they run scared and they run into ships. So this has been dangerous. I haven't heard one thing about the marine mammal killing from anyone that's proposing that is for this. So I do not think they actually do care about the marine life. They said they've been doing these studies. I don't see where they even mention the fact that over 40 marine mammals have been killed. Now, I've lived in New Jersey my entire life. I'm 66 years old, and I can only remember a few, less than a handful of marine mammal killings. And now all of a sudden there's over 40. I mean, come on. And as someone else had pointed out, I do notice that a lot of the people that are for the wind are reading scripts. I was a teacher. I'm a retired teacher. And I know the difference between someone speaking and someone reading. And there's been a lot of reading going on with prepared statements. And I did not know this was a place for prepared statements. I thought this was a place to ask questions. So my questions are, why are other wind power sources not being looked at, like the vortex bladeless? And why isn't nuclear fusion being looked at? And then, so I'm going to concede the rest of my time. Thank you for hearing me out. And again, this is unconstitutional, and it ultimately will be challenged in court, but hopefully we can avoid that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. All right, folks, as a reminder, we are in the verbal comment session of today's meeting, and we're moving through our pre-registered speakers. If you have a question for the BOEM staff, we'll get to the question and answer portion of today's meeting after the verbal comment session. You can still type your questions into that Q&A feed located at the bottom of the Zoom platform. Okay, I'm going to do one more call for the speaker list that we're on right now. Gregory Blash. Gregory Blash and Mike Dean, if you're on the platform and still wishing to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your Zoom platform. Or if you've called in by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. Gregory Blash and Mike Dean. Okay, I'm going to post the names of our next few speakers into the chat. Okay, not hearing or seeing a hand raised from Gregory Blash or Mike Dean. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Our next 5 speakers are James Bomowich, Annie Licata, Carmela Marcusi, Patricia Robertson, and Jennifer Daniels. Okay, Annie, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, my name is Annie Licata, and I'm the Ocean Campaign Manager at Clean Ocean Action. Clean Ocean Action is a regional, broad-based coalition of conservation, environmental, fishing, boating, diving, student, surfing, women's, business, civic, and community groups with a mission to protect and enhance the degraded water quality of the marine waters off the New Jersey, New York coast. Clean Ocean Action, which I'll refer to as COA, is not opposed to reasonable and responsible offshore wind development that supports and sustains a healthy ocean. As proven through recent and peer-reviewed science, good governance, and due diligence based on a pilot scale project with ecosystem monitoring and assessments developed, implemented, and evaluated by independent scientists. COA echoes our continued call for a responsible offshore wind pilot scale project that, if proven successful, could be combined with comprehensive monitoring systems yet to be developed, which would be tied to strong, mandatory, measurable, and enforceable protections for marine life and the ecosystem. COA also echoes our call for BOEM to pause the leasing and pre-construction activities until the Government Accountability Office releases their investigation into offshore wind, and it is reviewed and assessed. COA also continues to request a federal investigation into the marine mammal deaths between December 2022 and November 2023, with a petition supported by nearly 400,000 people. COA read the 524 comments from numerous concerned citizens, government agencies, and organizations from the draft programmatic environmental impact statement, from the National Marine Fisheries Service to the National Park System. There were a lot of concerns. There are glaring data gaps and too many unknowns. For the Atlantic Shores North EIS, the corporation and the respective agencies should review and respond to the comments, concerns, and requests already provided to you in the draft programmatic environmental impact statement. The impacts of offshore wind development need to be evaluated fairly and completely, to ensure transparency about the scope and magnitude of the impacts to the ocean and to the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, Patricia, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi there, my name is Patricia Robertson. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard today. You know, at the beginning of the presentation today, Ms. Baker from BOEM said that public input is a critical aspect of the process, and I agree. And in fact, every presentation today, everyone highlighted a robust stakeholder process. Okay, well, New Jersey residents, those stakeholders most significantly impacted, have spoken up and continue to do so. You've heard a roar from residents, the fishing industry, those concerned about economic and tourism impact, some brave elected officials, and energy industry experts, some of whom have even sat in your seat. And they are objecting to the plan. And much of this feedback has been thoughtful and informed and prepared by industry experts. Surely they have merit. So I ask, what specific and significant and meaningful changes to the terms requested by Atlantic Shores have been made thus far as a direct result of such stakeholder feedback? And I'd ask you to continue feedback today in that same vein. And while I'd prefer no turbines at all in our oceans, I'd like to better understand, what about the topography or seabeds off LBI are so unique, so challenging, so unusual, that it is impossible to use smaller turbines further out, as is used in other parts of the world? And I'm not asking why it's less profitable, and perhaps they would produce a somewhat less optimal amount of electricity, but we need to consider the price to be paid by New Jersey. So I'm asking why smaller turbines further out aren't possible. Why has Atlantic Shores not been limited on the size of turbines and the miles from shore in accordance with the feedback that's been given? Lastly, I guess, while there are no doubt, there are climate issues that have to be addressed, and let's address them. But there are other options that do not involve industrializing our ocean and our coastline. Those include, solar energy in already industrialized areas, nuclear energy. At a time when our technology is growing at an exponential rate, think about it. Our technology today is literally creating its own new technology, right? We talk about this every day. It's unfathomable that placing these massive turbines in our ocean beds is still under consideration at this time of technological growth. There are alternatives. Let the new technology guide you. And until then, I urge you, please do no harm to our oceans. We get one coastline, and it is irreplaceable. And it is undoubtedly the single greatest asset of the state of New Jersey. Let's use that technology to help us find the best alternatives. Let's not have to rely on technology to eventually figure out how to clean this up, as other options do become clearer and better developed. And certainly, let's not have to rely on technology or AI to show our children what a natural horizon looks like. I urge you to pause, to reassess. And in the meantime, I urge you, please do no harm to our oceans. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, one last call for James Bomelowitz, Carmela Marucci. If you're on the platform and still wishing to make a comment, please raise your hand using the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your Zoom platform, or if you've called in by phone, please press *9. Okay, folks, again, I'm going to continue going through our pre-registered speakers. I do see I have some folks who did not pre-register with their hands up. I'll add you to the speaker list. Our next 5 pre-registered speakers are Robert Zuzek, Dennis DeForest, James Thompson, Mike Pagnota, and Patricia Brennan. Okay, Robert, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. As a homeowner in Ocean City since 2003, I've been involved in efforts to voice my objections to the industrialization of our ocean over the past 3 years. We are all aware of the deleterious environmental and economic effects these projects will have on one of our last pristine environmental treasures. The many concerns that have been made have not been recognized by any public or private entity in pushing these projects forward. And I am at a complete loss as to why these concerns have been ignored. There is a saying in history, those who forget it are doomed to repeat it. And on that point, I came across the actions of a former governor of Oklahoma, Frank Keating, who was governor between 1995 and 2003, and was instrumental in getting wind energy projects enacted in that state. And he made a commercial on how he feels about those actions that he took. So if you would indulge me, I'd like to play a commercial that he made regarding his decision, which I'll do now.
We made a mistake. The album is called Holy.
Hang on 1 second. Sorry.
We made a mistake, potentially $1 billion mistake. When I served as governor, I signed a bill that was supposed to jumpstart the wind industry, help the state, and create jobs. It didn't happen. This is a calamity for taxpayers. Corporate welfare of the worst kind. We're on the hook to write blank checks to mostly out-of-state and foreign wind investors, all funded by you, the taxpayer. It cost us over $120 million last year alone. Money for schools, for teachers, for kids, all gone. As your former governor and a proud citizen of Oklahoma, I ask that all of us work together to end this now. Together, we must protect the future of Oklahoma. Thank you.
So with that being said, I urge this state, our governors, federal agencies like BOEM, NOAA, and all the other entities that are involved with these projects to please reconsider whatever they're doing in our ocean and industrializing it. We've seen numerous whales, numerous dolphins wash up on our shores over the past year, unprecedented in such a short period of time. These projects are catastrophic. We have one ocean, one pristine ocean. Why are we endangering our marine life with these projects? It seems to me to save the planet, you're destroying the environment. You're not saving it. I mean, it's kind of oxymoronic in my opinion. And furthermore, the New Jersey Rate Council, who are the watchdogs for the public with rates so that ratepayers are not gouged, they are against these projects because they know how expensive these rates will be once the projects are built. No doubt about it. With that said, thank you for allowing me to make my comment. Have a good day.
Thank you for your comments. All right, our next speaker is Dennis DeForest. I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
All right, I'm just calling because I'm opposed to the offshore industrialization. For one thing, they're not green, they're not clean. They're loaded with oil and gas and all sorts of toxic chemicals that we're going to be putting into our ocean, and they all do leak eventually. Everything leaks. As far as being environmental, there's nothing environmental about putting thousands of wind turbines out in the ocean. We have other means to make energy with nuclear being one. And I just read an article that the Energy Bureau, National Energy Bureaus, put out in 2022 about revamping old coal fire turbine plants to nuclear. And it would create jobs and save jobs from the plants that they're closing down with this alternative. And like I said, I am opposed to industrializing our ocean. There's other ways to create energy, and that's about it. So I think that we should rethink our options and stop the madness. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, our next speaker, Mike, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute. Mike Pagnotta, are you there? You show unmuted on our side. Mike, are you there? Okay, Mike, you show unmuted on our side. You may need to adjust your speaker volume or your headset on your side. I'm going to go ahead and remute you and move on to the next speaker, and then I'll come back and try and help you troubleshoot. Okay, our next speaker is Patricia Brennan. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes for Patricia.
Hi, my name is Patricia Brennan. I'm a lifelong resident of the Jersey Shore, and I am not for offshore wind because any place that they've been put so far, it shows that they don't work. If you read the BOEM environmental impact study, even in there, they admit that they're not going to have effect on climate control and carbon emissions. But as somebody who's been very involved with the anti-offshore wind groups, because we're seeing the 500% increase in whale and other cetacean deaths since they started doing the sonar mapping and pounding of the poles to go down, and now they're dumping the gravel. You know, I've laid and sat on the beach when a few of these whales have passed, and it can be tracked to all the sonar mapping boats right next to them. But what upsets me most is that BOEM is not following their own directive about protecting the environment, protecting the ocean. I feel like this has been stuffed down our throats. It got rushed through with the home rule bill, and New Jersey residents aren't getting a say in whether we want this or not. And as one New Jersey resident, I don't want it. I've literally not been able to find one fact that's good about them. The ones in Atlantic City aren't working. The ones in Nantucket aren't working. Other countries are taking them out because they're not working. They're going to have a negative effect on the New Jersey tourism and businesses. Nobody's going to want to come to the beach looking at those things and looking at dead stations on the beach. Plus, it shows at the base of each turbine, they're going to be dumping out 1,000 gallons of heated chlorinated water, and how close these things are. That's definitely an effect. You know, I don't want to be swimming in 90-degree water. They're even, you know, it even shows in the BOEM impact study that it's going to affect the temperature of the land because they're going to be blocking the wind. shows they don't withstand nor'easters, they don't withstand category hurricanes over a 2. You know, they're affecting the fishing industry. I was really upset that when they decided to start doing the cable work through Seagirt, that they unearthed graves and moved graves around. That was very disturbing. But the effect that this is going to have on the environment, our electric bills, tourism, businesses, the ocean. We only have one ocean. I don't understand why people aren't remembering where our water comes from. So if we completely pollute the ocean, we're all killing ourselves. But, you know, and they leak. If you look at the history of where all these other wind turbines are, whether they're in the water or on land, they show that they're leaking diesel fuels. And I can't remember the name of that other toxic chemical that they've got in them, but, you know, I've read that environmental impact study. I don't see a plan to maintain them and service them and decommission them. So I really wish that the commenting period could be extended, as well as proper environmental studies that weren't paid for by the company that was putting them in be done. And that BOEM also follows their own rules about protecting the environment. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Patricia Brennan. I'm part of Save the East Coast, Save the Jersey Shore, Protect the East Coast, Clean Ocean Action. Please do the right thing and do the proper studies before these things are finally finished being put up. I appreciate the opportunity to talk. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, Mike Pagnotta, I'm going to ask you to unmute, see if we can get your line to work. Mike, are you there? Okay, Mike, you're unmuted on our line, but it does not appear to be working. I'd recommend that you go ahead and call into the meeting. I will send you that call-in information here so that you can call in and hopefully we can hear your comment that way. Again, as a reminder for folks, if you don't provide a verbal comment today, all comments, whether received orally or in writing, are weighted equally. Mike, I put that call-in information into the chat for you. I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next speaker. All right, last call in this list for James Thompson. Okay, I'm going to put the next 5 speakers into the chat. Okay, our next 5 speakers are Kathleen Harper, Andy Kennedy, Mike Jacobs, Terrence Kelly, and Lori Mulvey. If you're on the platform and still wishing to provide an oral comment, use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your Zoom platform. If you've called in by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. Kathleen Harper, Andy Kennedy, Mike Jacobs, Terrence Kelly, and Lori Mulvey. Kathleen, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm calling because I'm against offshore wind. I had no idea about wind energy about 2 years ago, but last year when whales started washing up on our coast, I became very concerned, and I became what we call in our groups a whale warrior. And I've been fighting against wind turbines for over a year and a half now. The main thing that started me in this process was the amount of whales that were washing up along our eastern shore, and they're still washing up today. A couple days ago, we lost another whale in Virginia where they're doing pile driving and sonar mapping. This is not good for our environment. This is not good for endangered whales, especially since it was a female right whale that we lost. Because there's so few of them, any female loss is putting the right whales closer and closer to extinction. I also am worried about these wind turbines in hurricanes. They have not built wind turbines as big as they're building those off of our shore, over 1,000 feet. They do not get the winds and the storms like we do over in Europe. So you cannot compare the fact that these wind turbines will withstand a hurricane because they've never been through one. Also, my concern is about our fishing industry. They keep promising jobs and jobs, but there are so many thousands of jobs that are going to be lost if we lose our fishing industry. And if these turbines are put in and in 10 years they find they're not working or they need to decommission them, they're still going to leave those bases at the bottom. So the men and women are not going to ever be able to fish on our shores again. These are hardworking people that do not deserve to lose their livelihood. Another issue that has me worried is our national security. These are tall, they mess up with radar, they mess up with the Coast Guard's ability to save people. It's not good for us on the East Coast because they are not going to be able to tell if there's an attack on our shoreline from the ocean with those turbines out in the water. We're looking at millions of acres, and we're looking at our utility bills to double or triple. It is proven that this has happened all over the world. Europe, Germany, France, England, Australia, all over the world, that the electricity bills do not go down. They usually double or triple. We're going to allow foreign companies to come in and control our electricity. What's up with this? America should control its own electric output, nobody else. We also need to worry about they don't really work. They're finding that over in Europe, they don't work. They've had blackouts and brownouts. Who can forget what happened in Texas when we lost several people because the wind turbines stopped working in the freezing rain and snow? We're get that out on our East Coast 10 times worse. They say they're going to last 20 years, but some of them they're finding only last 10 to 15 years. And when they come in to decommission them, they say they're recyclable, but they're not all recyclable. The worst thing you're going to find is that the blades end up in landfills, and those blades have chemicals in them, and they will affect the groundwater of where the landfills are. So I am against wind turbines. I don't think it's good for our environment. There are better ways to create energy, and this needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, Lori, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
I was green from the time I was young. I grew up in North Central Jersey, where we had extreme amount of industrialization, and our great recreational release from that was going to the Jersey Shore. So I am against these wind turbines on several grounds, mainly because they're not green. So for all the people who truly have in their hearts that they want a better alternative to fossil fuels, I will say, please research that these are not as green as they're being touted. The other thing that concerns me is this is reminding me very much of the recent quote we've been hearing for the last 3 years, safe and effective. So the wind turbines are being touted as being very safe and effective. Well, that didn't work out the first time. in another scientific endeavor. So this is ringing bells. The other bells that are ringing are some of the solar scams that have happened up here in North Jersey during the two previous administrations ago, Obama's administration, where they subsidized and had all these companies come in, and then they all declared bankruptcy. And who foot the bill? Who got stuck with millions of dollars that we still have to pay are the North Jersey residents. So again, these aren't green. I wish they were. They're not. Another factor is some of the seabeds in Portugal, where they put up wind turbines, never recovered. So they put these underwater cabling in, and they say, yeah, it'll recover again. So initially the oyster beds get depleted, and I guess that's quote unquote to be expected. And then they're going to miraculously come back. Well, even with seeding efforts, they have not come back. So there is something about the electrical currents. There's something about the whole technology that's extremely dirty. And I think we are making major strides, which another caller mentioned, in newer technologies. And we are on the cusp of several breakthroughs. I think it will go down in history if these get implemented as one of the biggest eco disasters that ever happens, because it was implemented in a rush, phase one, let's go green somewhat, and then it'll make such a problem and there'll be such better technology to replace it. And it'll be, well, oh, well, we did this. Well, it ruins our shore. It ruins where we live. This is our home. I wanted to retire to the Jersey Shore. I have no desire to do that anymore. It's a shame. This is my home. My father was born in this state back in 1917. And I grew up hearing stories of how things have changed constantly, and they haven't been good changes when it comes to the environment. And if this is trying to be green, I applaud the effort, but I think the scientific communities are captured. I don't think they're providing a realistic and a fair analysis, especially regarding the whales, the birds. I call them bird blenders because they tell the bird not to fly into one. Tell the bats not to fly into. They're not going to listen to you. Whatever you do, they're not going to listen to you. So the only thing that gets harmed is the environment and our sanity, because for many people in New Jersey, the New Jersey Shore is our place of rest and relaxation. We don't want to take a plane ride to Florida to see a shore. We want to drive an hour to two. And that is one of the reasons we love and live in New Jersey, because it has so much to offer. So I stress, reconsider this. And I hope that the salty New Jerseyans get really, no pun intended, wind of this and start protesting like crazy over the next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. All right, last call for Andy Kennedy and Mike Jacobs. If you're on the platform and still wishing to provide a comment, please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your Zoom platform, or press *9 to raise your hand. Mike, I see your hand is raised. May I ask you to unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Number one, Lori, you are incredible. You're incredible like so many other people. I don't care if you have a degree in marine biology, but what Lori does have, as many other great speakers, is common sense. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been on these BOEM calls, Zoom calls, writing in. It's so repetitive, but we cannot convince BOEM or a government that thinks 70% of our, it used to be 60, now they're saying 70% of our electrical needs will be met by mainly wind turbines in our oceans by the year 2030. Yes, I've said it before. It's insanity, and it's a scam either run by people trying to cash in on the big green lie, or stupidity, or a combination of both. What has happened, and this is not an insult to the people on this call. I believe all of you with your degrees, the BOEM team, I think you're good people, basically. And I've said this before. But what's happened is BOEM has taken on a bureaucratic life of its own. It has become like many government organizations, expanding, exploding charts and pie charts and mission statements and PowerPoint programs. The only thing they left out of the line is basic common sense. There is no way, as taught to me, I got started with this. A friend of mine is a brilliant electrical engineer from MIT. And he said, Mike, don't worry about this. It'll never happen. Anybody with any sense in electrical engineering will understand that building wind turbines in an ocean in a saltwater environment and blasting 10,000 miles of copper cable just in the Northeast is a ridiculous idea. This is going to die. But it didn't die. I started a group of about 50 of my friends called Windmills and Saltwater Scam versus the Voices of Reason. We now have over 7,000 people, and it is a scam. And the saddest part of all this is the speaker. I wish I had her name at 3:45 p.m. What a great speaker. I love these speakers who talk from their hearts. I love those of us who know what the oceans are like, who recognize that we've inherited from our parents the specialness of the ocean without wind turbines. As I've said also, we paved paradise and put up a parking lot on land. Hey, it's the way it goes. Leave my ocean alone. This is a tragedy. And I will tell all of you and those in BOEM that in years to come, when you look and see what you've done to our oceans, you're committing a crime. And not out of evil, but out of the bandwagon effect. Oh, let's do it. Oh, that's the word. Look, I believe in green energy. I believe there's a lot to global warming. I know there's some questions, but you are taking the wrong path by thinking you are going to solve this problem by building 5,000 wind turbines just between Maryland and Maine, and as mentioned earlier, blasting 10,000 miles of copper cable into our oceans. Am I watching a cartoon? Is this some kind of skit on Saturday Night Live? No, this is reality. And God bless those of you who stand up and speak against this insanity, because we are going to be the heroes in the future. And when generations to come look at what's being done now and say, how could you let that happen? People like Lori, that lady that spoke earlier, can proudly say we tried our best. But there's a pattern here, folks. And the pattern is BOEM goes around in circles. We keep on going on these meetings, and the project continues to move forward. That is called a tragedy. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, last call for Andy Kennedy. Okay, I'm going to post the names of our next 7 speakers into the chat. Kathleen Sullivan, Leslie Listwa, John Magliochetti, Tricia Devoy, Roseanne Sarawatka, Adam Nolan, and Jennifer Seraphin. Okay, Kathleen, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My daughter, my 17-year-old daughter is off today, but she wanted me to say something to you all as she listens. She basically wants her to say to you, popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty is a government based on consent of the people. The government source of authority is the people, and its power is not legitimate if it disregards the will of the people. Government established by free choice of the people is expected to serve the people who have sovereignty or supreme power. As my daughter listens to me for the past year and a half, the government has not been listening to us. We have shown you time and time again that we want this halted or we want more studies, and that is not happening. So hold on, let me continue. Let me get my breath. So I want to say we are from Protect Our Coast, Long Island, New York, but we are also banded together for the same cause, that we do not want industrializing of our oceans. I want to say that, as many have said, this green is not clean. It's a falsehood. It is, you're shadowing it to the other public as being green, and it is not. Offshore wind is not getting off fossil fuels, as we basically have said to you all. It uses fossil fuels to keep it running. Each developer in each project, from Empire Wind and Atlantic Shores and Ørsted, every developer is formerly known as an oil company trying to mold themselves into a sheep's clothing as something else. Each of these offshore substations runs on thousands and thousands of gallons of fossil fuels. Why are we kidding ourselves? Why aren't you putting it out to the public? Because your key word is green. So everybody, it's green. I'm a greenie. When you do your research, and unfortunately, you're not getting to the bolts and nuts to everybody and the public. And that is why you have pros, because they don't know what's going on. And the citizens and the residents of ocean areas have to educate the other population because they have no idea. And by the way, this is not about getting off of fossil fuels. And I also want to ask, why is this an existential crisis all of a sudden? Why are we in a hurry? Why can't we do studies? Me and my daughter, my 17-year-old daughter, she's like, what's the rush? And she's in AP classes, everything. We just don't understand. You know, we've been up against these projects, and we largely have been ignored. We come on and on and on to every meeting, and we talk to our local city councilmen, we talk to our administrators, and time again, we're getting ignored, usually by our governors, and then ultimately because you want the federal aid and you want the federal money, and you're not listening to us. And I'll start again about what I said in the beginning. As my daughter said, she listened. She's young. She's about to go to college. You know, one gentleman said Princeton they're researching nuclear energy. Yeah, my daughter is not going to school that's supported by offshore wind because she knows it's wrong. I also want to say, we know the destruction that will happen to all of our towns. We have read about the construction and operation plans that we are witnessing in Virginia. I want to understand something. Why does the end justify the means? Why are you destroying one ecology for another ecology? Ask yourselves that. And meanwhile, the ecology that you're choosing, right, is getting destroyed with the same ecology that you want to get off of, fossil fuels. This is hypocrisy, and I'm sorry. Sorry to getting loud. My daughter's actually putting her head down. Thank you for letting me speak, and I'll give the rest of my time up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, our next speaker, Leslie, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hello, I'll make it real short. I'm an electrical engineer, and this is a very, very complicated issue. In terms of efficiency, green, I'm not even going to go there. The only thing I want to just bring up is I was looking at some of the images that were presented over the last couple of days of what LBI is like, and Barnegat Light State Park, which everybody in New Jersey really enjoys and appreciates. We were originally told this was just going to be a speck on the horizon. If you take a look at these images, I mean, it's really just horrible. As an engineer, all engineering is compromise. Compromise in terms of efficiency, cost, and satisfying the customer. We're the customer. So I'm meant for a compromise. Why does it have to be 8 miles out? Obviously, because there's some cost savings. And maybe that needs to be looked at as it's being looked at in other states as well, and push it out 30, 40 miles. So, we still can enjoy the shore, enjoy our state, enjoy Barnegat Light. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, John, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is John Magliochetti. I'm a lifelong resident of New Jersey and a property owner on Long Beach Island for the last 20 years. And in my time, I have 3 points I'd like to make this afternoon. First, all organizations participating in these meetings need to disclose any economic ties, donations, and funding provided by Atlantic Shores or other entities looking into industrializing our oceans. Second, from an environmental perspective, the BOEM needs to study specifically how construction and operation of these machines are driving marine life into the shipping lanes. I've heard comments from politicians and others that the marine mammal deaths have not been caused by surveying or will not be caused by the future operation of these machines, but no one has commented on what is driving these creatures into the actual shipping lanes themselves. So while it is true that these animals are killed by marine traffic, what has caused them to venture so close to these vessels needs to be determined before this project is allowed to move forward. And third, from an economic and tourism perspective, I question why we're so willing to take such a significant risk with a major economic driver of our state. There are countless people whose livelihoods depend on the Jersey Shore. Developers have already requested and have been granted additional tax subsidies before any turbine has been built, meaning that the costs and economic benefits that are already overinflated leads to more questions on how much more the residents of New Jersey will need to pay. Like so many other residents of the state of New Jersey, I am against the development of this project as it is currently proposed, and hope that BOEM and other government organizations take mine and other residents' comments into consideration and not allow this project to move forward. I thank you for my time.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, our next speaker, Tricia, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hello, my name is Tricia DeVoe. I'm a conservation biologist, and I'm very concerned about offshore wind development, especially regarding its impact on whale populations, particularly the critically endangered North Atlantic right whale. We have seen an unprecedented increase in whale strandings in New York and New Jersey over the past 14 months, which corresponds with offshore wind vessel activity in our area. So although NOAA and scientists say that there's no evidence linking offshore wind activity to the recent whale deaths, they're not providing any evidence that offshore wind activity is not contributing to these deaths. And the requests for IHAs actually indicate that they know the activity will cause harm, which is why they need permits, harassment permits. Before any more projects are approved, including this one, I believe studies need to be conducted on the potential impact that offshore wind activity will have, not only on marine mammals, but on fisheries and all the marine life, prior to the project approval and construction of these projects. As it stands right now, scientists do not know how the construction of thousands of wind turbines will impact the marine ecosystem. And while I agree that we need clean, renewable energy sources, we also need to make sure that we protect the ocean and all the life it contains, especially the endangered species. Without a healthy ocean, we cannot have a healthy atmosphere, no matter how many wind turbines there are. Turning the ocean into a power plant is not the answer. So I urge BOEM to pause this project and all offshore wind projects until independent, thorough environmental impact studies can be conducted, until it is proven that these projects will not have a detrimental impact on marine mammals, especially the North Atlantic right whale or the marine environment as a whole. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, Roseanne, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hello, everyone. My name's Roseanne Sarawaka. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm a New Jersey senior and a science education consultant with a true environmental focus. I was the one who was running all the Earth Day events. And it is one of my inclinations and interests to do whatever it is to protect our natural environment. I hope that all of you who are studying this issue are using your knowledge, which is appreciated, and your position well for the right reasons. Because as someone said earlier, you are the stewards of our ocean. This project is frightening and nonsensical. It is an assault on our oceans, our economy, and New Jersey's future. Earlier, we heard people say that they don't really want to live here anymore because of some of the plans for our state. And this particular project will not work on many, many levels. I speak to the Sierra Club rep earlier to please review the fossil fuel list, which is in the thousands of gallons, including poisonous gas SP6, before you make further decisions on whether or not this project is green. I wanted to talk about executive orders because I also saw that that's what everybody reflects back on, that they have an executive order, but executive orders are not always right. Currently, there are a few presidential candidates who are opposed to wind turbines. If you're able, listen to RFK's videos that are now out that talks about why, and he has a background in this, why this is a disaster for our coastline and for the environments. Many times they look at the turbines that are already in existence. Block Island, they throw that out, but that's 5 turbines. And earlier in this session, the group said that they looked at the projects that were in Rochdale in the United Kingdom as your study base. And I looked at that also, and that has 26 turbines. But it also was having some problems. And I'm going to read just a little bit from information that was found about this group that you're using as your study base. Even as capacity and investments steadily grew, project delays, regular uncertainty around the grid connections, along with financial and supply chain constraints, continue to hamper faster deployment. They had a double economic blow that has compounded cost of building, installing, materials, borrowing money. And additionally, developers have seen these spiraling costs that have forced them to render the project no longer profitable. Not to go on, but this is on the site I'm looking on in the UK. It goes on to talk about fractured turbines that had to be towed, talk about crew vessels that need to be serviced. And the list goes on about the hazards that are involved with wind turbines. Would you want your children up on a turbine? I would not. Hazardous, There will be serious liabilities to our state and to anyone who really promoted this idea. I would believe we would be liable. This is a senseless scam based on subsidies. Please think about who is financially benefiting from this project and who is benefiting from those subsidies. Your responsibility is protect our fishing industries and their families. Protect our historical buildings, including Barnegat Light and others, as was mentioned earlier. Protect our wildlife. It really is in your hands. If you step away from your position and you think about it as a human, use that which makes sense, and please move forward with the right thing for our shores. Good luck.
Thank you for your comments. All right, our next speaker is Adam Nolan. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Alrighty. My name is Adam Nolan. I'm a campaigns organizer with the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters and a resident of South Jersey. Our organization, New Jersey League of Conservation Voters, is deeply committed to preserving the fundamental elements of our environment, clean air, clean water, and expansive green spaces, and ensuring that they're accessible to every resident of our state. I'm pleased to see the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management moving forward with the next steps towards assessing the potential impacts of the proposed offshore wind energy project by Atlantic Shores. Initiating the environmental impact statement process as required by NEPA demonstrates a commitment to thorough evaluation and public engagement. The proposed Atlantic Shores North project represents a significant opportunity for the expansion of renewable energy in the region, with the potential to provide clean and sustainable power to communities in New Jersey and New York. The construction and operation of offshore wind facilities involves complex logistical challenges. The EIS allows us to study these challenges and potential impacts and assess the best ways to mitigate them and prevent adverse outcomes. It is essential that the EIS process also incorporates input from stakeholders representing the diverse communities and their perspectives. I'd also like to applaud Atlantic Shores for their commitment to transparency and collaboration throughout this process, engaging with local communities, stakeholders, and regulatory agencies will be crucial in addressing concerns, mitigating risks, and ensuring the responsible and sustainable development of offshore wind energy with maximum benefits for the community. It's essential to recognize not only the potential challenges, but also the significant benefits it will bring to New Jersey. The projected reduction of 6.13 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions annually, equivalent to removing 1.2 million cars from the road, underscores the substantial positive environmental impact of offshore wind development. Moreover, the economic implications are equally compelling. Throughout its project lifetime, this initiative stands to inject vitality into the New Jersey economy, contributing a total of $937.9 million in labor income and $1.3 billion in value added. Offshore wind has enormous potential for job creation, economic growth, and enhanced prosperity for our communities. By embracing renewable energy solutions like the Atlantic Shores project, we not only take significant strides toward mitigating climate change, but also stimulate economic development and foster a more sustainable future for generations to come. It's imperative that we leverage this opportunity to harness the power of clean energy while ensuring responsible stewardship of our environment and resources. Yeah, that's it for me. Thanks so much for having for the time.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, our next speaker is Jennifer Seraphin. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, how are you? This is Jennifer Seraphin. I'm not scripted either, like so many that are for for the wind turbines. I don't want to say green energy because I am for green energy. I am 57 years old and I have solar on my home because I do believe in harnessing the sun and doing whatever we can for the renewables. But I believe that we need a combination because our grid here on the Northeast will never sustain this. These wind turbines in the ocean will destroy our ocean in the name of climate change. It's climate change now. It was, what was it called in the 90s when Al Gore came around? I can't remember because at that point I was a Democrat. Now I'm a Republican. I think that what they're doing in the name of destroying the ocean to save the planet is horrific. And it's all in this name of this Inflation Reduction Act, which is truly the new Green Deal in disguise. These are not green. They're all oil industries. Equinor, BP is really BP. And I think Oric is another one. I'm not really sure of which is which, but they use oil and gas to operate. They use sulfur hexide, which is going to leak into our ocean. And you can't compare us to Europe. I'm a flight attendant. I travel. I know that they're not working over there. Germany went back to coal. France has major, major problems. I do want to say that I am a Republican. I don't vote party line. I vote by who is going to help us. But right now, I can't say what I'm going to do, but we have had one person come out against these. I know Trump is against the wind and the whales, but I also know that RFK has come out and they won't even let him on the ballot. But I would like to play the video that he has come out and said about against these things, and he knows firsthand. And this is a environmental lawyer. He is all for green energy. He is for all of it, and he's against wind turbines in the ocean. So I think maybe everybody would like to hear what he has to say. I don't know if you can hear it. Hold on. Let me take it off. Can you hear it?
No, Jennifer, we can't hear what you're playing.
Okay. You can't hear it?
No, we cannot.
Okay. Well, if that's fine, but when you get a chance, it's he has put out a video showing that he is not for this. And I know Trump has put out stuff too. I don't know if he's actually gone against the wind turbines, but he is not for destroying our ocean. But RFK has actually put out a video against offshore wind. And so has many other, I know Van Drew is against it. Like you are, I'm sorry, I just remembered. He was global warming, they called it then. Now it's climate change. I think it was something else in 2002. It's a money grab. That's what they're doing. And I mean, I live on Long Island and New Jersey. The amount of whales, I think they said it was 73 whales that washed up. And what happened to all the conservationists? Have they been paid off? I mean, all the birds that are being killed, the Audubon Society is silent. I mean, you have a few companies who are out there trying to save the whales still, but many of them are quiet. And I find that horrendous. So everybody is about the money now. And I'll say one more thing, because your experts are working for the wind companies. Equinor has Jennifer DuPont. She also works for AMSES doing the necropsies on the whales. What kind of conflict of interest is that? Like, when you actually stop this and get independent studies done, then maybe we could listen and believe that this is not just about money. Like, I don't understand how you can get a bunch of people to believe you, and then you want to run a high voltage cable in neighborhoods. And look at what's going on in Virginia. These people can't even eat because their houses are shaking. It's really horrific. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, our next speaker is Sylvia Lockwood. Sylvia, I'm going to give you a prompt to unmute. Sylvia?
Yes. Hi,
Yes,
can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, great. Thank you so much. Thanks for allowing me to provide comments today on the Atlantic Shores Offshore Wind Project. I'd like to thank the professionals such as Cindy Zip and her team at Clean Ocean Action for their hard work and dedication to provide the facts related to the offshore wind industrialization that we're experiencing. I completely support their stance. I'd also like to thank all of the New York and New Jersey residents involved in providing comments who become citizen advocates for our ocean environment and its inhabitants. I also support their comments and efforts to protect. An earlier caller mentioned the issue of whether or not there's a connection to the whale and dolphin deaths as a result of the offshore wind development. I'd like to bring attention back to the Atlantic Shores Draft Environmental Impact Statement, Table 4.1-1, potential unavoidable adverse impacts of the proposed action. Specifically, it reads, quote, marine mammals, increased risk of injury, TTS or PTS, to individuals due to underwater noise from pile driving activities during construction. Disturbance, which is behavioral effects, and acoustic masking due to underwater noise from pile driving, vessel traffic, aircraft, geophysical surveys, HRG surveys, and geotechnical drilling surveys, wind turbine generation operation, dredging during construction operations, increased risk of individual injury and mortality due to vessel strikes during construction and installation, operations and maintenance, and decommissioning, and an increased risk of individual injury and mortality associated with fisheries gear. I can't wrap my head around the fact that in spite of this document and the ocean wind documents, they all have this unavoidable impact, showing the connection. And yet the government agencies and the most media outlets continue to say that there's no connection. I mean, there are an untold number of intake, I'm sorry, I'm losing track, of takes that are issued that can harm them. Like, there's absolutely a connection, and we need to stop and pause these projects until we know more. There was the document that came out. It was the NOAA technical memorandum, and the NMFS NE 291 exposes, quote, major gaps in knowledge throughout the document regarding our fisheries and our ocean environment. I just wish that the people that were involved in these projects to actually look at these documents and just stop listening to the very polished campaign that has been, you know, an expensive campaign that's been paid for, scaring us into believe that this is our only option. There's this massive industrialization. I mean, the fact is that the whale and dolphin deaths are increasing, and the dolphins aren't caught in fishing gear. The dolphins aren't suffering from vessel strikes, and the articles don't even address that. They don't even mention that offshore wind is a possibility, which right there to me, just, if you really believed that there was something going on and you really cared about the ocean, you would be more invested in pausing these projects. So again, thank you for letting me speak today, and yeah, I'm completely opposed to these projects. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, our next speaker is Amy Covert. Amy, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, great. So I am unscripted and not necessarily prepared to make a public comment, but I did want to echo all of the comments that I have heard against the wind turbine project. I do feel strongly against this project. I have read the Bureau's reports, and in BOEM's own environmental impact report, they acknowledge that these offshore wind projects will have absolutely no impact on climate change. So in my view, this is needlessly going to destroy the Jersey coast, and in particular Long Beach Island, where we have a home. A study that I read has shown that 54% of renters would not return if the turbines are visible. And even in the reports on the Bureau's website, it shows that these turbines will be visible. Even on cloudy days, they will be visible. So the tourism is going to be driven down if the project proceeds. The home values are going to plummet. The shops and the restaurants will be forced to close. The tax base is going to go down. And that basically the Jersey Shore, especially Long Beach Island economy, is going to be decimated and at some point mostly uninhabitable due to the infrasound. So, I can't say strongly enough how opposed I am to this, how disgusted I am with the politicians. I have been a Democrat my entire life on the issues for the most part, and this is driving me to consider voting for Republicans. Very much so, not an empty threat about this. So I do feel very strongly that this not proceed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, folks, those are all of the pre-registered speakers that we have today. If anyone who has not already spoken would like to provide a formal verbal comment today, you can use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of your Zoom platform, or if you've called in by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. I'll pause for just a moment or two to see if we have anyone else who would like to provide a formal verbal comment who has not already spoken today. Thank you. Okay, Michael, I see your hand is raised. I'm going to ask you to unmute. Michael Casey?
Oh, yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. The first thing, I think this was just alluded to or mentioned in the prior speaker, is clearly it states that this is not going to, these windmills or turbines are not going to solve climate change. Now, in the real business world, you wouldn't start a project and say that it's going to, solve a problem theoretically. So what I've heard on this call is we're going to, mitigate the rise in the oceans. We're going to also affect climate change. So I would ask that somewhere in these documents that you're going to provide and everybody's going to be looking back on in 20 years, that you state explicitly that there will be no change in the oceans rising, or it's said another way, how much is the oceans not going to rise because of this? Also state what in New Jersey specifically, what are the temperatures going to be like? What can you sign up? In the real business world, we call these service level agreements. You're going to spend billions of dollars on a complete boondoggle and not be able to tell me in New Jersey how that's going to affect the temperature. That needs to happen, or at least stated that you can't do it very clearly. I think it's been alluded to in some of the documents, but very clearly the impetus for this project is limit the ocean rise. It should be specific to New Jersey. How this is going to affect the temperature, specifically to New Jersey. I'd also like in the document to state what coal power plants are going to be shut down when we put these turbines up. So clearly there must be something there, right? If we're saying we're going to reduce carbon, what's getting shut down over this period of time that these turbines are going to be there? The other thing is what can Atlantic Shore sign up for in terms of reduced storms? So over the next whatever, I know they said 30 years, it's probably more like 20. How many storms are we going to avoid? So if you can't say that, what in God's green earth are we doing? Why would you spend all that money putting this eyesore that's going to affect marine life, tourism, jobs, which is another thing. If you're going to say there's jobs increase, you need to factor in all the jobs that are going to be lost. This all should be put into that document so that when the people on this call and the people that are supporting this effort look back at this complete debacle 20 years from now, that they saw, and other people will see, what were you thinking? It's shameful that we would be doing this. Another point I like to make, this existential threat thing, please put in the document people other than the existential threat commenters as to other people, as was just alluded, like RFK Jr., for example. But there are Nobel Prize winners, scientists, not the quote unquote consensus. Science is not consensus. And you could Google them or I can help you find them. The 5 or 6, very well-respected scientists who say this is a joke. Even the climate change thing is a joke. We did have an ice age a long time ago. How did that get warm? That needs to be in there. The last thing I'll say is, are you people kidding with 30 years? First of all, it's not going to be 30. That's a joke. It's going to be 20 years. I have a refrigerator that's older than that. I have a couch that's older than that. How do you put a project in of this magnitude with all the risk, whether, again, it's marine life, tourism, jobs, and this thing's going to last 20-something years? That's a joke. That's a complete joke, which this whole thing is. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me speak.
Thank you. Dave Mitchell, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I, as a lifetime resident of New Jersey, my first question is, who benefits from this? And the answer is not the New Jersey residents. It does not benefit the residents and the taxpayers, the business owners, or anybody who uses the shore or enjoys the shore, goes to the shore at all. This basically, as everybody else has alluded, the information says it will not affect climate change. It's going to take years to build, and at the same time, where are the blades even being created? And my understanding is these are Teflon blades, hazardous substance, because of cost and the actual environmental aspect of those. They're not going to be created in the United States. They're going to be created in a third world country. So we're going to have them created somewhere else, destroy someone else's environment so that we can have them go up and feel good about the idea of actually having something that benefits the environment. And so it's not any residents here. It's going to affect somebody else somewhere else. Ultimately, this is from New Jersey has basically insured several of the companies for their work, meaning if they even fail, it's going to go on the taxpayers to bail them out. I believe someone earlier played a video of a governor of Oklahoma that basically indicated they were on the hook to make the company whole. So and that's on land. So we're doing a massive project that's done close to a location that's never been done anywhere else, that has no testing. We're going to suddenly not have storms. For individuals have said in the previous calls, this in Europe, they're going away from these. Not only do they visually impair people seeing things, they also make noise. What does this many windmills, when the wind's blowing off the ocean, sound like? So it's not even seeing it. Are we going to hear it the entire time as well? In the end, this comes down to the company who's been insured by the taxpayers in New Jersey to actually to pay them back if it fails, having to pay the money for it. And on top of that, the companies and stockholders that can buy these, who are foreign companies, besides this one being partially owned by Shell, is also a French company that's has ownership that is in the Middle East. We're giving up our ability for an environment and our own enjoyment to allow to pay a company to earn money that's going to not even be in the United States. And on top of that, there's the concern about who maintains the lucrative service contract, because this isn't going to help any small business, women-owned business, 8A business. This is going to have to be a massive company that does this, and they're going to be able to earn this income from this on service contracts for years and years to come. Unlike an actual project that may was done on land that a small business may be able to throw their hat into a contract and get that contract and make and better themselves and actually do a job that they can pay folks here. This is not going to benefit anybody in New Jersey. It's just going to benefit foreign investors, going to benefit stockholders of companies, and ultimately it doesn't sound like it's even profitable. Will make a difference in the environment. There's more risk than there's actually benefit. I'm going to say I'm against it and end my time there.
Thank you for your comments. Right, folks, at this point, I don't see any additional hands raised to provide public comments. Hold on one second. I'm gonna pause there. Eileen, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute. Again, folks, we're looking to see if anyone else would like to make a formal verbal comment today that has not already spoken. Eileen? Eileen Felgus, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I've been listening all day now. And I find that the speakers broke down into 2 categories. The scripted people who probably are on salary to back up the positions of the papers that have been either written for them or that they have written, and real people with real concerns who will be the ones who are affected, I'm sorry. And it seems disingenuous to me that people who are scripted and who have clearly read every word of every document are pointing out only the positive aspects and have not once acknowledged any of the negatives, that it's left to the residents of Long Beach Island and other concerned people. And so I guess I'm just finding the presentation to be very disingenuous. And I agree with the caller inner who suggested that when someone is speaking for an organization, they should be exposing where the funding of that organization is coming from. So I thank you very much. And I wish those of us who are opposed and wanting to preserve Long Beach Island and our shoreline, I wish us luck, and we need to be active advocates. Thanks so much for today's presentation.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, Karen Sowers, I see your hand is raised. I'm asking you to unmute. Karen Sowers?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Karen Sowers. I have been a longtime vacationer on Long Beach Island. I grew up going there. We now have a home there. And I want to strongly object to this project. As I said, I've been coming my whole life. And for so many reasons, this project just is insane to me. I've never heard of so many whales washing ashore anywhere and dying. there has to be a correlation. There is a correlation with when the exploratory sonar testing began and when these animals started to suffer and die. New Jersey is also, we're blessed with a beautiful, pristine coastline. And why are we trying to industrialize it? I mean, I just don't see, I don't trust that the benefits are there. We have so many small businesses on Long Beach Island. It's just one little community after the next. And it all will be impacted. The whole island, tourism, the economy, home values. I just can't even understand why this is happening. And why was this location chosen, 8 to 9 miles off the coastline, to install yet the tallest turbines in the entire world? They're as tall as the Eiffel Tower. Again, this seems insane to me. I also would like to ask, why aren't the in-person meetings going to be held closer to Long Beach Island, which is where this project is planned? It seems to make more sense if you actually want public participation and comments to offer the meetings closer to the community that will be most impacted. And that's the end of my statement. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, folks, not seeing any additional hands raised to provide public comments today. As we've discussed, you can submit your comments at one of the future meetings through regulations.gov or through the US mail until May 2nd of 2024.